Okay, so welcome to Chapter 1, Foot Reflexology Certification course, where we're going to cover history and theory. So in Chapter 1, the overview is we're going to see how the body is mapped on the feet, what reflexology is, what foot reflexology therapists do not do, the introduction to the founders of foot reflexology in North America, the gait control theory, when to adjust sessions, the length and frequency of sessions, pressure, what the healing environment should look like, benefits of reflexology, factors attending or affecting tenderness, understanding the healing crisis, possible cleansing responses to a treatment, and treatment protocol. Now, I know that it sounds a lot, but it gets easier as we go. So if you look on page 1-2, you're going to see how the body is mapped on the feet. And you can see that on the body, the feet are overlapping. So the toes have everything to do with the head, where everything above what we call the diaphragm, so there's like a half moon that breaks the feet. It's really hard to see in this picture, but everything between the bottom of the toes and above that half circle, that is your lung, heart, chest area. Between that half circle and that dotted line that goes through the middle, we call that the waistline. That is going to be your the digestive system. So that's everything between that's your like your liver, your kidneys, your stomach. When you go below the waistline but above the pelvic line, that is going to be your intestines. And then everything below the pelvic line is going to be everything in the pelvic area. So we're going to get a little bit more in depth as we go through, but that map is a really good indicator on page 1-2 of how everything is laid out. And it also makes it really easy to understand the reflexes and study them because everything is in order. So what is reflexology? Reflexology is the study of reflexes. Reflexology therapists are natural therapeutic methods derived from this study based on the principle that there are reflexes in the body that map to other parts, glands, and organs of the body. Through application of pressure on these reflexes, reflexology therapy can relieve tension, improve circulation, support the body's effort to function optimally. What don't we do? A reflexology therapist never diagnoses. I promise you, in your house, you do not have an MRI, a CT scan, a blood lab, or any kind of x-ray machine. And without any kind of equipment to confirm what's going on inside the body, you don't know. And the purpose of reflexology is to take the body out of a sympathetic state, which is fight and flight, and put it into a parasympathetic state, which is rest and repair. Well, if you start telling people that there's something wrong with them and start telling them if you press on their feet and it's like, oh, I think you got high blood pressure, that's going to stress them out. That is the opposite of parasympathetic. Plus, it's a lie because you don't know. You have nothing to confirm it. So, as a reflexology therapist, we will feel reflexes that are tender, and we call them imbalances. It's not any kind of a diagnosis because those tender points can happen any from a whole variety of things. And so it's important to remember we talk about imbalances. We do not diagnose. We also don't prescribe. We're not doctors. So we can't say you need to go and take X, Y, and Z with this much dosage. That's, you can say, for example, a lot of times with people with arthritis, I tell them that I've heard that taking tart cherry juice helps reduce inflammation and relieves some symptoms of arthritis, and it's something that they might check into. I don't say, you need to take this 4 times a day for 2 weeks, right? It's just something that they can look into. Um, we don't treat for specific conditions because all systems are interconnected, and we don't use machines or instruments that we weren't trained to use. So in foot reflexology, we literally use our hands, and if you need it, cornstarch. What is the history of reflexology? So, no one can claim to have invented reflexology because it's been rediscovered. Um, there have been traces of footwork dating back thousands of years, and in the 1880s, our feet lost constant contact with the earth, and the reflexes were stimulated much less because we started wearing shoes. Moccasins and mucklucks with leather bottoms, they keep the feet more connected to earth. But for the most part, I mean, especially women wearing high heels, it puts extra tension on the musculoskeletal system because our feet weren't designed to have the heels 5 feet above or 5 inches above the toes, right? So that puts extra pressure on our back, our knees, ankles, and men, they've got their dress shoes too, which could cramp the toes. Um, and it's just a lot of times if you have clients with bad footwear, all tender reflexes can just be because of the footwear. It might not be anything else. So that's again one reason why we don't diagnose. Now, this is Dr. William Fitzgerald. He pioneered zone therapy in the USA. He was hailed as the rediscoverer of reflexology. And he wrote an article that was to stop a toothache, squeeze your toe. And it's interesting because when you get into understanding where the reflexes are for your teeth, it's actually at the base of your toes. Upper teeth and lower teeth are at the base of the toes. And that is the link there to read um, that PDF if it's something that you're interested in. I also posted it in the Facebook group if you want to hunt it down in there. So Dr. William Fitzgerald, um, it was around 1913 where he introduced zone therapy in the US. His method was based on Chinese acupressure, and many have adopted and modified his ideas as a new method of reflexology. Now, reflexologists believe that specific points are used to stimulate and heal the whole body. This is Dr. Joe Shelby Riley. Now, he's the one that made the first diagrams and drawings of reflex points on the feet. He worked with the ears, and it's the earliest record in Western world of auricular therapy. Ear reflexology um, is super interesting, and because the reflexes are so close to the surface, it forces the brain to react quicker. And in that case, ear reflexology, you also use ear seeds that are stuck on surgical tape that stick on the reflexes in the ears. They're so tiny that using those ear seeds helps to stimulate the reflexes for up to the week. So he is the one that kind of pioneered that. And Dr. Joe Shelby Riley and his wife Elizabeth, they ran a school of physiotherapy, zone therapy, naturopathy, and other holistic treatment modalities for many, many years. This is Eunice Ingham. Now, Eunice is the mother of reflexology. She coined the term reflexology. She worked with medical doctors to convince them of the value of reflexology. She made major contributions, including discovering that alternate pressure on a certain point stimulated healing rather than having a numbing effect. She took her work to lay people so that they could learn the proper technique to heal themselves and their families. Now, she wrote this book here, Stories the Feet Can Tell Through Reflexology, and Stories the Feet Have Told Through Reflexology. And there's been books written about her. She used to do many presentations. And this is her nephew. So Dwight Byers worked under his aunt for many years. I had the privilege of being trained under him in Calgary. I think it was in 2011. and he wrote this book, Better Health with Foot Reflexology. Okay, he actually still, watching him was really quite fascinating because when he worked his fingers, look how long his fingers are. And when he worked on the feet, I'm talking, he worked so fast, his fingers were flopping, and um, he was just, it was amazing to watch. In the US, carpal tunnel syndrome, if ever you have a client that has carpal tunnel, Dwight Byers is the one that said, it doesn't come from the wrist, it comes from the shoulder. The wrist is a symptom. The shoulder is the cause. It's bad posture from people sitting at desks. And so he would work the shoulder reflex, and there's reflexology therapists in the States that do money back guarantees in 30 days to work with carpal tunnel. And all that they do is work the shoulder reflex continually, and it helps to relieve the symptom in the wrist. I thought that was quite fascinating. This here is Mildred Carter. She wrote a book called Helping Yourself with Foot Reflexology, and it was published by Prentice Hall. She was sued by the AMA for practicing medicine and promoting reflexology. She signed the copyright over to her publisher, and they had to deal with the publisher rather than the author, and so the AMA actually lost their case. They tried for years to catch her, but they never ever succeeded in catching her in any infraction. It's super important that when you are working with your clients, you never ever say reflexology can cure. Only Western medicine can cure. And so you can't make those kind of claims. It's going to get you into trouble. Okay. And besides, it's not true because the body is what heals itself, right? Now, the Reflexology Association of Canada, we call it RAC. They were founded in 1976, and they're the ones that have the trademark for RCRT. Why is that important? If you have a client that has coverage for reflexology, if you are a member of the association, they give you a membership number, and once you have that membership number on a receipt, your client can submit it and get reimbursed. There's more and more companies that are including reflexology in their benefits package. I know Sask Power has it, Sask Energy has it, Starbucks has it, Royal Bank has it. There's anybody with a health spending account can get it back. There's a bunch of companies that have reflexology covered now. In order to get reflexology covered, we have done everything on our end, but the employer has to add it to their list of benefits that are covered. Okay. Now, theory of reflexology. How does reflexology work? Okay, to cover this, you're going to go to page 17. And reflexology therapies are a natural therapeutic method based on the principle that there are reflexes in the body that map other parts, glands, and organs of the body. These reflexes are reflections of body areas. The physical image of the body is mapped onto other parts of the body like hands, ears, feet, in a logical anatomical pattern like perfect microcosms or holographic units of the body, foot, hand, and ear, and they contain the information of the whole body or the organism. And so essentially, by stimulating the reflexes in the feet in a specific way, what's going to happen is it's going to encourage the body to increase circulation and help it to heal itself. Oh, sorry. And then at the bottom of page 17, it says, according to commonly known gate control theory, the nervous system can only respond to a limited amount of sensory information at one time. When the system becomes overloaded, it short circuits, closing the gate and reducing the amount of sensory information available for processing. Reflexology encourages the brain to produce more endorphins. The pressure also acts to confuse the body with too many sensations to which it must respond, forcing the body to close the pain gates. This interrupts the pain cycle, eases pain, and helps the body to relax. So, translated, if you were trying to tell somebody to do 10 things at once, the odds of anything getting done are between nil and naught because that just overloads the system. If you ask people to do one thing at a time, your odds increase drastically. And that's how it is with the gate control theory. So if you overload the system, it forgets that it has pain and it helps the body to shift from sympathetic mode to parasympathetic mode. Okay. Okay. There are times that we are going to adjust the treatment. So it is lighter and shorter sessions. And that happens when clients are very young. What do I mean by very young? The youngest client I've ever worked on was 5 days old. So you can work on very young babies. Obviously, when you are trying to use your thumb on a baby that's small, your entire thumb is as big as their foot. So you obviously have to do lighter and shorter sessions. Elderly, the very ill, pregnant, pre-surgery, post-surgery, heart patients, and diabetics. How often do you do a treatment? Acute, no more than every 24 to 48 hours. You need time for the body to release the toxins that are stimulated, and you don't want to cause a healing crisis. For chronic conditions, you can do sessions once per week. For maintenance, it's once per month. And if no progress is found after 12 sessions, you refer to another modality. It's always up to the client how often sessions are going to take place. How much pressure? Client decides. So you have to pay attention to the client's verbal and non-verbal cues. When you first doing reflexology, you kind of have the client's toes in your face because you're concentrating so hard. That's normal. But you also have to pay attention to the client's face, because if you're pressing too hard, if their face is all squeezed and scrunched up, you probably got too much pressure going on. There's going to be other times where they fall asleep on you and they're not going to give you any feedback. So you do have to establish a pain scale of 0 to 5 or 0 to 10, and that helps you rate how much pressure there is. You don't ever want to go over a 10. You would like to keep it at like anything below an 8, and that's still going to be uncomfortable for the client. You don't want to cause pain. You just want to you want it to be a comfortable session. But the thing is, the client determines the pain. I've worked with clients before where my thumb wasn't even on their foot and they swore it was at a 10, and it's because if there's an extreme imbalance, it radiates, right? So you don't have to press hard in order for it to feel like a lot of pressure, and you have to be conscious of that. Pressure is always to the client's tolerance level. Pain doesn't heal, it's a warning signal. Tenderness can be expected, and pressure will vary from client to client. Your healing environment, you want it to be quiet, relaxing. You want a massage table or a reclining chair, doesn't matter, whatever one works best for you. And obviously, you want a private setting. Three main benefits of reflexology is it promotes relaxation and releases tension. It improves lymphatic and cardiovascular circulation, drainage, and elimination, and it maintains and reestablishes homeostasis. There are some things that can make the foot feel tender, and this is again why we don't diagnose. So stress, physical, emotional, or mental, can create an imbalance in the body and make our reflexes tender. Injury or trauma, if if you've got calluses or corns or bunions. Surgery can leave scar tissue. Medication, it can either increase tenderness or numb it altogether. The level of wellness of your client, age, phantom limb, footwear, fatigue, or lack of sleep. Phantom limb is really quite cool because if you have somebody that has had an amputation, um, sometimes they say that their foot is still itchy or they have pain in the bottom of their foot. There isn't a foot there. But the brain remembers the body in its original state. And so it still sends signals like it was original. Now, in a case of an amputation, if if somebody's experiencing an itchy foot, you literally work on the foot like you would if it still existed. Same thing if somebody's had surgery, say that they had their gallbladder taken out, we still work the gallbladder because the brain will signal an imbalance regardless if you've chopped it off or if it's still there. If you haven't fixed the cause, the symptom is still going to be there even if it's no longer there. Now, after a reflexology session, your client might have some cleansing responses, and this is just because the toxins are being released from their body. So there could be a cold feeling, a funny taste in the mouth, perspiration, diarrhea. They might get tired, nausea, headache, feel energized, watering eyes, release pain, rash, itchy. They might have gas, improved urination, improved digestion. They might feel dizzy. They might feel lightheaded. And what a cleansing response, detoxification, or healing crisis are just the body's ways of purging waste materials and eliminating stored toxins. And it's important for your clients to drink more water and avoid foods that are heavy in fat or protein. With reflexology, we look at Herring's law of cure. And what that is a healing crisis will only occur when an individual is psychologically and physiologically ready. They nutritionally prepared is the foundation for all healing, and a healing crisis will begin from inside out in reverse chronological order and when and how the symptoms have appeared. Now, when you have a client that is wanting to come to see you, we've got reflexology treatment protocol. And the first thing that you're going to do is obviously book a treatment. Involved in that are you're going to have to establish your fees, your cancellation policy, and get their contact information. Before a treatment, you're going to make sure that the area is set up, that the temperature is good. You don't want any distractions. You want to make sure that you've taken care of your personal care and you wash your hands before and after a session. Now, with COVID, there's some extra measures, so we have to wear masks and facial shields, and you have to make sure to wash your clothes in between sessions or just change clothes. When the client arrives, you remove their socks or shoes, or you have them remove their socks and shoes. You collect the health record. You put the client in a chair or a table. You can have music if you prefer, if the client prefers. You're going to establish a pain scale, 0 to 5 or 0 to 10, and you're going to encourage your client to relax. Some are really chatty through their sessions, others just fall asleep. Now, a reflexology session, you are going to make sure that your client's comfortable. You are going to inspect their feet for any imbalances. You're going to disinfect the foot. You're going to wrap it. You're going to make sure that they're warm so you can offer a blanket. You're going to listen to everything that they have to say. You're going to ask questions if things don't feel right. You'll set expectations. You're going to do the session. If the feet get clammy or if your hands get clammy, you can only use cornstarch. We don't use baking powder because it can get into your lungs and cause an allergic reaction. And if you want to use lotion, we only use that at the end of the session. We make sure to wash our hands after the session, and then we review with the client. After the treatment, You're going to discuss the treatment plan. So are they acute, chronic, or are they on maintenance? You're going to help the client up, offer them some water. Usually we don't with COVID. Discuss self-care options, collect payment, provide a receipt, book the next session, record treatment, and of course, make notes. All right, we did it. Good job. So chapter 1 review, we did cover how is the body mapped on the feet. That was on page 1-2. What is reflexology? What we don't do as reflexology therapists. I introduced you to the founders. We went over the gait control theory. We talked about the 8 times that we adjust reflexology sessions, the length and frequency of the sessions, how much pressure, 0 to 5, 0 to 10, what the healing environment should look like, benefits of reflexology, factors affecting tenderness, possible cleansing responses, understanding the healing crisis, and the treatment protocol. That's a lot, and you did great.